Pulp MX Network production.
Bringing you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly. It's the LVK More Than Moto podcast with your hosts, Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Leatt LVK More Than Moto podcast. I'm Kellen Brauer, joined by Phillips, who is down under this week in Australia, a week between, obviously, the AUSX Open and World Supercross. And we're going to try to get this one out for you guys a little bit early, seeing that it's already Monday for Big Lou. So it's kind of like the perfect time for him to get on and chat with us. A little late night evening here in the USA. But yeah, it's been a few days already since the race. It's weird to say that, but it's been basically a day plus since they've raced. So yeah,
it's funny, Kellen, you say that we're doing this early, but my mind immediately went to this is the latest we've ever done it, just because obviously I'm living Australian time. It's Monday night now, and yeah, it feels very delayed. It's actually been a little bit eye-opening in the fact that Australians have to wait a little bit into their week to get going with podcasts and whatever, you know? Like, I feel like when I was in Europe and then Americans, to start Monday morning with race podcasts, the review pod, whatever else, is a privilege. But the poor Australians have to wait until Tuesday. Pour one out.
True, but also I was thinking about the fact that, like, a normal Saturday night Supercross in the USA, Australians would have it be on midday, sometimes morning-ish for them on Sunday. So that's something that it's been almost 2 decades since we've raced on Sunday in the US, and for them it's just normal, but that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. Like, even for instance, this morning I was in the hotel eating breakfast and NFL was on the TV live. And it's a weird time warp. Obviously I've been to this part of the world before in New Zealand, but for some reason and even Indonesia is a similar time zone, but it's really bizarre this time, and I don't know why. I've been here the best part of a week now, and I'm still kind of grappling with what time and what day is it for you? Our dear friend Steve is maybe part senile because he just keeps turning to me in the press box at the weekend and going, "It's Friday evening there." I was like, "Yeah, man." And then 2 hours later, he'd turn to me again and go, "It's still Friday there." And I'm like, "Yeah, man. That's how it works."
I loved getting that text from him while we were the race is going on, and he just Kellen, it's still Friday for you in the U.S. So excited about it.
He put me on a group text with him and Pookie, and then this morning he just texted, "It's Sunday there." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." And then this afternoon he was like, "And now it's Sunday afternoon." It's like, "Yeah, cool, man. That's cool, yeah." I said, obviously thanks to the AUSX Open, they paid for me and Steve to go separately. But I did say to Steve, I think next year one of my demands, if I'm invited back, will be for him to not be there. Because his mind blown at the time zone was incredibly tedious by the end of the event.
I think we'll get into the press box talk and all that stuff. I have 2 questions for you. First off, you're talking about the time differences and all that. When you lived in New Zealand and you were a GP fan, did you always it was late Sunday that you would be watching the races, right?
No, it would have been Monday morning, maybe even when you're still asleep. But at that point, you've got to think, MXGP TV wasn't around. Live GPs were a little bit of a rarity, so watching it live wasn't really a thing. So it was more just checking the results that was a bit of a difference.
Is this pre-mysport.tv or whatever that was?
That was 2011. MX Live.
Okay,
MXLive.tv? Yeah.
Whatever it was, yeah.
But yeah, a little bit of context. I'm currently sat on a balcony in Noosa Heads. Thank you to the Anstey's for letting me stay here for free. Honestly, I'm having the deal of a century. It's maybe the nicest place and Airbnb I've ever been in my life, and so far I've contributed 0.
Okay.
Behind me is the most fantastic view, and as we recorded this, a storm just broke, and I'm actually getting wet now, so I look like a real news reporter out here. But I'm in a penthouse sort of suite, so the fact that you can see such a big drop-off behind me, I look like I'm on the Lion King or something.
Okay, so I don't understand this. First of all, that's great that the ANCs are basically putting you up for the week, and it looks amazing. Why are you outside? We started talking before we went live, and you're just sitting in the rain. I don't get it.
Well, it's their Airbnb. My room, I only just got here, so my room doesn't have a desk, and I'm not going to just be like, "Hey guys, can you guys shut up and move out? Because I'm doing a podcast for the next hour. And this would work well if it wasn't raining on me. But stay tuned. Maybe the skies will clear behind me here. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a moody shot. It's very moody and, you really get a sense of the vibe here.
It looks kind of like Florida, oddly, but yeah.
Well, honestly, it is like Florida the way that it was so hot all day. And I literally was outside 5 minutes ago and it was bright sunshine. And then, like that, a storm just broke and here we are. Yeah. But no, it's I'm getting a little bit wet, but I'm dedicated. And also it's remiss of me to not say g'day, Kellen.
Yeah, g'day. You didn't lead off with that. I didn't lead off with that to you either, so that's my bad. In terms of direction, you guys were in Melbourne, and then the race this weekend is in the Gold Coast or on the Gold Coast or whatever it's called. So how far away are you from where the race will be? So
I flew to Brisbane, which was a 2-hour flight north, I believe. I believe you chase the coast north from Melbourne. And then we drove an hour north to get here, which the reason we're here is Justin Brayton said this is his favourite place on Earth. So, consequently, he's obviously Max Anstey's agent. I don't know if that's well known. But
I don't think that's known at all, to be fair.
Oh! Well, maybe I'll be kicked out of the Airbnb now. But, so the recommendation came in and they decided to come here. And I have to say, all weekend, I met so many Australian fans. It was unbelievable. 200 plus, maybe? Like, honestly, unbelievable. And everyone that said, oh, what are you doing after this? And I said I was coming to Noosa Head. They were all like, wow, that's the best place in Australia. You're going to love it. And I have to say, it's lived up to the hype. So far, I've been here an hour, but it's lived up to the hype.
Yeah, I know. I'm almost sad. I guess White Monster. Next week we'll be able to get like a review on how it actually lived up to it, because I'm sad that we're not going to get like a full perspective. You've only been there for an hour, but anyway, I have Melbourne perspective. We will get into that, but I want to actually get into the meat of the race because people were pissed off last week that we spent 10 minutes just BSing. So let's talk about the AUSX Open that just happened. Before we do that, I want to tell you guys about Leatt. Leatt protection is in our brand DNA. It started 20 years ago with the groundbreaking Leatt neck brace and continues today with an extensive product offering of protective gear and riding apparel. But what Leatt really stands for is inspiring confidence and ensuring safety with every ride. The 6.5 neck brace, their Moto 9.5 carbon helmet, casual wear, and more, all available at leatt.com. So be sure to head over there and check it out. All right, AUSX Open on the weekend in Melbourne, Marvel Stadium. Really cool vibe by the looks of it from everything that I saw. Obviously, I'm not there, so you'll be able to lead into that a little bit more. But Jett wins both of the SX1 finals. Kind of dominantly, I guess, in a way, because Hunter wasn't quite good throughout the evening. But I will say, for me, this just was the first inclination that we're in the off-season races. Like, I don't know why the other ones haven't felt very off-season-y, but this one felt very, we're just here to have a good time and get out of here. And it was still cool, but it definitely felt like, we're just out here to do a bit of a parade. Yeah, and Hunter said as much in my post-race interview when I kind of quizzed him on the fact that the result maybe didn't live up to the hype. And to be honest, I'm not mad at it, because this is an exhibition race for them. Obviously, they're jumping into a championship that's in full swing, but they have no part in that. So it's very much... I'm writing an article at the moment, and I put it down as what the vibe I got is it's very much a celebration of Australian motocross, which is great. I actually really enjoyed that vibe. There was such an air of positivity around, and the Lawrences bought into that. Their schedule was unbelievable. They were signing and appearing and all the rest of it for 2 days straight. Breakfast shows, fan zones, VIP experience, Pulp live show. The list was endless. I'm actually amazed and blessed that I managed to get them for pre- and post-race interviews, because I'm not sure that a motocross rider has ever had such a schedule at an event. But that is the point of this. It isn't serious yet for them. There is information that can be gathered, sure. But for the most part, it's them coming home and kind of celebrating, call it the Lawrence after party for the 2025 season, like 33,000 fans haven't got to see them all year and therefore enjoy their success. So this was it. This was their chance to be like, hey, Hunter and Jett, appreciate you. Yeah. But let that not take away from the fact that Jett was unbelievable. He was. And to me, like, it looked like a noticeable step up from Paris. I don't know, like, if there's any tangible evidence to that other than he just won, but he looked more comfortable. He looked better. He looked like he tried more, if that makes any difference. I don't know, but he definitely looked back to Jett, in my opinion, at least the aesthetics of it. I did want to ask you, because you mentioned you got to interview them pre and post race. They did the pulp thing. In general, all the stuff that I've heard from the weekend, they seemed looser, more open than they are in the US. Obviously, it's a laid back situation. And with that, we got like some information about things they're testing, working on, tire stuff, suspension stuff, and all that. Is this the most you feel like actually gathered from them in a single weekend just because they were this laid back?
Interesting question, because I would say no, but then also we had this exact conversation about me and Eli in Vancouver. So there's a trend there that the off-season interviews are more open than normal. So maybe. Because, yeah, add Eli, Kenny, and then Jett and Hunter, and the riders are very open, which is funny because I would expect this time of the year them to be maybe more secretive than in season. Because this is the time of year where they're not showing their cards. And maybe they want to keep it that way, you know? For Hunter to be open about, and Jett, suspension work and the shock being where it needs to be, but the fork's not, and not being happy with tyres, that really peels a layer back and reveals something about their 2026 Monster Energy AMA Supercross prep that we otherwise didn't know and would be none the wiser to anyway. So maybe it is just I think also you've got to think. Sorry for the thunder. You've got to think. Can you hear that? No.
No. I didn't
Okay,
hear
it's
it,
thundering. This mic is incredible. What was I going to say? You have to think. I think for all the riders in these off-season races, there aren't many journalists as much as there are at Anaheim 1. So I think when you get them for an interview, they are just generally a little more open because they haven't done 20 interviews up until that point. Yes, Hunter and Jett did plenty of press stuff, but it wasn't in the sense of like a formal interview like you or I would do, is what I would say. So it's maybe a little bit more refreshing for them to sit down and discuss their race. But maybe not. Like, for instance, in Vancouver, it was just me and Don who interviewed Eli. Normally, I would be the 7th person to get to Eli, and by that point, he's ready to go home and is like, do I have to repeat myself once again? But, no, the information that we gathered from the Lawrences was really, really good.
It was, and I was going to actually say, to your point about, like, we don't normally get to hear this from them, I was almost of the opinion that maybe that's simply because they are always so secluded and hidden away, and this gives us, as the media, an opportunity to see kind of where their prep is at, because they're actually racing and they're giving us tangible results about how much stuff is still left on the table for them to explore and test and everything like that. But then on top of that, like you said, like we do get to actually interview them at these races, where at most an off-season interview is going to be maybe a podcast, sometimes a team intro, but even that, it's all just rainbows and sunshines anyways. So when you get them at a race like this, I feel like that's the most opportunity for us to kind of see where things are at, just because they're in front of us and there's no place to hide.
Yeah, to a degree, but then could the opposite be true as well? Because ultimately they could just sit down and go, yeah, it's an exhibition, we're here to celebrate, and that could be the end of the interview, you know? Like, you said that Jett seemed to be better than Paris. He could have quite easily been worse, but because the field was a little weaker than Paris, that's not apparent to us. You know, the results and the scoreboard just tells a different story, despite the fact that the riding may be the same, better, or worse. I mean, let's be honest, and no disrespect, because he rode brilliantly, but it was Matt Moss who gave him a run in the second race, and that's a stark difference to Malcolm and Webb and whoever else was in Paris, Vial. But, yeah, I don't know. I didn't come away with like, wow, Jett's on it right now, or, oh, Hunter's got work to do, or, you know, like, none of that. I just... Maybe in the sense of the interviews, like, okay, their suspension isn't where it needs to be still, and oh, there's this tyre issue, which I've never heard before from Hunter. So that gave valuable context, but from the on-track performance, no, I don't think there's much to really take away or assess.
Well, I just think for the Jett thing, it was more of a his persona this weekend, and maybe it was the Australian thing and being home with the fans and everything. He looked way different than he did in Paris. Paris seemed like serious and kind of annoyed that things weren't going right, and the crashes didn't help and all that. And then Australia was like, I'm just going to go wax everybody, and then he did. And I just feel like that was like a mental switch. I don't know. Again, I'm not reading into what 2026 is going to look like at all. I just was happy to see that there's not like damning evidence through 2 races of Jett's offseason that there's going to be some actual struggles, which I know they're going to work through all that stuff testing wise anyway in the next few weeks, but he looked way more normal to himself just from a confidence standpoint than he did in Paris.
Yeah, agree, but then in the same breath, I disagree because, again, the competition, I think that whatever he did, him riding at 70% would have given the same air of confidence and self-belief because ultimately he didn't need to do much. Now, maybe you can pull something from the quad that only he was doing. That's a little confidence move, you know? That says something because he didn't need to do it. He almost 5'd it at one point, and I think that the 5 is becoming ever-present now, so we need to come up with a name for it because it's becoming too awkward to
The quint?
jam it in. Oh, sorry, what?
The quint? You quad something and then you quint it? Quintuple?
Is that what 5 is? I thought 5 was C, Sint.
Sint? I don't know.
I don't know. I thought quipped, whatever you said, was 6. I don't know. I'm too dumb for that, Kellen. But no, great for the Lawrences to be there. The fan reaction was amazing, and I have to say, this was my biggest takeaway. These are my takeaways of the event, aside from the riders. 1, it truly felt like a celebration of Australian motocross. No doubt in my mind. And I got that before Saturday. Friday, walking around, the buzz, the excitement in the air felt akin to maybe the nations. But obviously in a different competitive sense. I think in more of a, instead of a who's going to win, it was like, this is so awesome. Which is kind of the vibe with the nations as well. 2, I think it's quite a skill for the AUSX Open. This was round 4 of the Australian Supercross Championship. And somehow they maintained the integrity of that championship whilst also marketing the AUSX Open as its own race. And I think that's quite a delicate balance to strike, and I was thinking about it on my flight yesterday, and I'm not quite sure how they manage it. But it's a sweet spot. It's a balance that I don't know you can manufacture yourself. It just kind of naturally happens. But they've really managed to get the best of both worlds a little bit. And I think that's quite nice. Because, in a way, it's a promotional tool for the Australian Supercross Championship. Because for this podcast, I have comments on Ryder Kingsford, Alex Larwood, and Dylan Wills. That's not happening. That's not happening otherwise about Australian Supercross, nor is it happening in Paris. Because Paris, they have the SX Tour, which is the French Supercross Championship, but that kind of isn't really considered or really talked about. So why is this different? I can't put my finger on it, but it is a nice balance. And I think it's a valuable tool for Australian motocross. And thirdly, and finally, I've kind of forgotten what I was going to say on that because I got so far down the beaten path with this. Yeah, I've forgotten my third one. But those are my 2 takeaways.
Well, to your second takeaway, I think that it's simply, as you said, at Paris, they don't talk about the French Supercross Championship. Like, I don't think they said one word about it. And that's probably just down to the fact that the people involved with actually streaming the event are not ever in any way associated to the SX Tour in France. Like, it's Malin and MXGP and stuff like that. Whereas, as you rightly pointed out, like, they did talk about, this is the Australian Supercross Championship. Here's the standings. Here's where everyone's at. Matt Moss is back this week. Dean Wilson's been crushing these guys. Like, they really laid it out as, yes, the Lawrence brothers are here, but here's a different story as well to follow. And I don't know. I think that you're right. It is a perfect way to kind of blend the two and make it so that it's a good promotional entity for the series. But I think that it just needs to be that way anyway. Like, I'm surprised they don't do it in Paris, to be honest.
Yeah, it was an exhibition, but also not. In one way, it was a race that meant absolutely nothing, yet everything at the same time.
Yeah.
Depending on, it's quite interesting. It isn't, now that I think about it, I've kind of got myself all confused again, because I don't know how you end up hitting that sweet spot. But yeah.
You've mentioned a few times.
My third point.
Okay.
No, it's gone again. My third point. I don't know if this is because the first edition of the AUSX Open was 2015. So at that point, my media career, clouds are breaking behind me. We're getting a bit of sunlight. My media career was so young that I was still very much a fan. But being there felt like I was at a historic race. Oh, I've seen this on TV, there were those callbacks to memory. Similar to Paris. And to reach that point at such a young age for the event is also quite interesting. Because again, I don't know how they've done that. And all I can imagine is it's just because it started right on the threshold where I maybe would have become a bit number to it. So maybe it's just personal. But there was like, it does feel as important as Paris, but Paris has 30 years more history behind it. So I'm equally impressed that it's found that footing in the off-season. Just points to talk about. And also, equally, it made me think that actually, Geneva obviously did have that footing. It's gone now. But Eric Pernard tried to do a race in Bulgaria. I think it was one and done. There's been other attempts at these off-season races. And it made me think that maybe it's worth attempting because it won't take 40 years to get there. You know? Maybe the AUSX Open is a valuable case study that the Paris model can be replicated without the history.
Yeah, I think you absolutely have to go to the right markets that haven't already been kind of tapped into the correct way. Like I would almost say another way of trying to do it would maybe be something in Japan, like to somehow mesh with the All Japan series and have like a super finale there or something like that. You have to go somewhere where there is a market that hasn't been fully fulfilled. And like I don't think there is one in Bulgaria necessarily as much as there was in France and Australia and stuff. So
and ultimately Bulgarian fans can just go to Germany quite easily. So they're not so starved. I think that's another curious point though. One, to be honest with you, there's a real part of me, and I think this is a journalist inside of me, I really want to go to a regular round of Australian Supercross now. And if I get this opportunity again next year, which I sincerely hope I do, I will try and make that work because I want to kind of compare the two now. I want to see what a regular round of Australian Supercross is like in comparison to the AUSX Open, just to get a better read on the state of the sport down here. Because in talking to all the riders and everything, I think we all know the Australian market and championships are very strong. Obviously, Josh Coppins came back and raced here after his career. Brad Anderson left Britain to race here. There's been Billy McKenzie left GPs to race here. Jed Beaton left GPs and is racing here. There's so many examples of Australia being a fallback for professional riders. But it does seem like the money and the health of the overall series, SX and MX, is maybe stronger than I even imagined, because some of the riders were laying out to me, and I was like, wow, this is actually quite a viable career path for I don't know who you'd want to say as an example, a Dylan Walsh, for example. It seems like chasing the American Supercross dream is just a dream, and the correct business-savvy, sensible move is to chase a career in Australia. Which you wouldn't say about the German Championship, I don't think, because that sits as almost a in-between MXGP and is kind of half-pregnant a little bit. But I think you can come here and maybe invest yourself fully, although there were complaints over the weekend about Australian motocross having such a sparse calendar, and Luke Clout said that they're basically professional practices in the outdoor season. And I spoke to Nicoletti and said, why not come and race outdoors here and Supercross? And he too said there's just too many breaks and it isn't viable. You kind of have to move here for 8 races in 6 months or whatever it is.
Yeah, he says it's like March to August or something, isn't it? Some crazy.
I think it averages out as basically a race a month.
Yeah, that's definitely too sporadic.
It's a tough go.
Yeah. You mentioned a few times that it was like a celebration of Australian motocross this weekend. Obviously, the Lawrence brothers, Webster was there for the nations ceremony and them being hailed as these gods of Australian motocross that got the job done in Motocross of Nations. But I'm actually curious of your thoughts on this, because there's no way to actually know this. We were not there when this happened. But this whole Lawrence brothers going to Australia and coming back and giving back to the fans and it blowing up to this level of making things a big deal there reminds me a bit of when Chad Reed did the exact same thing. It wasn't for AUSX Open or anything. He just decided to race Australian Supercross. I think it was 08 or 09 going into 10 or something on a Cowie. And I remember there being so much fanfare around it and so much excitement. But maybe it's just because I was a fan, I'm remembering it more fondly or differently. But I
don't remember a Cowie. I remember a Vodafone Honda.
Oh, he did it on a Cowie too, and at the end of 09, I think.
Is a Vodafone Honda correct, or am I just out to lunch on that?
Because when he did his 2-2 deal right before 2011, I think he raced Australian Supercross or was going to on a Vodafone Honda.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, I just remember him going back those handful of years and there being so much fanfare about it. And I'm curious whether we are looking at the Lawrence brothers now as doing more for Australian motocross than Chad did, or do you think it's the same? Or was Chad, because he was the first, did it more?
You've got to think there's two, I think, important elements there. One, the world is smaller now than when Chad was at his prime, thanks to social media, the SMX Video Pass, MXGP TV, all of that good stuff. The world is smaller, and Chad was one man, the Lawrences are two, so that magnifies the effect even more so. So I think those are two important points. I think so. I would say yes, the Lawrences are maybe doing more to a degree, but maybe not doing more. It's just more recognized because of those points I just mentioned. Because ultimately, hey, American man is doing really well in America. No, did I say American man? Australian man is doing really well in America is a storyline, yeah. Much easier to bite into. Australian brothers are doing really well in America, you know? So I think that does factor in to a degree.
Yeah, and I know the Lawrence brothers have been on whatever that talk show, the morning talk show is in Australia. They've been on it a couple times.
Sunshine or something?
Good Morning Australia sounds right, but I know it's Good Morning America, so I don't know. But it's one of those.
They did a couple.
And then, so yeah, like to your point this weekend, they were like, was it superstar level? Like anywhere they went, there was just flocks of people around them. Was it that big of a deal to see them in person for all these fans that like, it was an anomaly to even be able to be around them?
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, without doubt. Yeah. But I think that was felt not just around the Lawrences, but in the magnitude of the event. Like, again, a nation's aura a little bit. And again, I don't want this to come across as overselling it, because it wasn't the nations, of course. But there was just a slice of the excitement and buzz that was comparable to the nations, in the sense that I really appreciated the nations because I was travelling to the event on Thursday and I was getting stopped by fans in the airport, and that gave me a sense of like, this is a big deal. This Thursday, we're already buying into it. And in a similar fashion, I was walking around Melbourne on Thursday before the race, and I'm getting stopped by fans who are already there and like, yeah, we can't, this is our event of the year. We can only take X amount of time off work and we've chosen this, you know, like, and that subconsciously just made me go, cool, I bought in emotionally because I'm like, this is a big deal for these people, so this is a big deal for me in turn, you know? Hype and positivity is infectious, and I think that is felt in the AUSX Open. Again, that's where I want to go to a regular Australian race now, just to see what the fan response is. I don't know.
In that regard, I mean, it's crazy then to think that both Lawrence brothers, because you asked them, basically said this one didn't feel as big as last year when they came for the first time.
Yeah.
Less fans overall, I believe, in the stadium. I think Hunter said like 5K less or something like that. And then they felt like there was less of an excitement factor to them being there. But then you being there, you're making it sound like it was still huge and everything like that. So I can't imagine how crazy it must have been last year.
Well, yeah, comparatively, I think they said this year there was around 33,000 tickets sold. Last year was 45.
Okay.
So that's a big difference. I will say that obviously there was so much hype that you heard, I heard, everyone heard last year about how loud it was in opening ceremonies. I will say that expecting that, I was ever so let down a little bit just because it wasn't as loud as I was expecting, but then even Hunter agreed that compared to last year, it wasn't as loud at all. So I guess last year was lightning in a bottle. But then that's to be expected, isn't it? Because last year was the first time they came back. Last year was the first time they had won the Nations, and then add Cooper Webb in to spice it up a little bit more. Ultimately, this was the second time they came back, A, and B, it was the second time they won the Nations. And although that's a massive feat in itself, success does start to dim the more it happens. It's true in any walk of life. So I'm sure there is now. Last year it would have been, oh my God, we won the Nations. This year it would have been, yeah, we expected to win it again. You know?
Yeah. No, it's a fair assessment of how to look at it and everything like that. And it's cool to see how behind both of them the fans in general are. And I almost looked at it from the same standpoint of like, it does suck that while there are a lot of fans of Jett and Hunter Lawrence in the U.S., they probably never feel like that amount of crowd behind them like they do this weekend in the USA. Like Deegan all the time probably gets the feeling that he's home wherever he goes because there's such a loud amount of people that will cheer for him. And at least this weekend, the Lawrence brothers got to feel that, even if it's just for one weekend. It's cool.
Yeah, and equally, I will say that that's true, but also true is the fact that everyone goes on about the Europeans are more vocal, more motivated crowd than the Americans, and I think that would be true for Australia as well. I think for whatever reason, that was a big bolt of lightning. Imagine if I die here because I get struck by lightning. I am holding a microphone. Oh my god, the thunder is really bad now. I can't believe you can't hear this. Anyway, I think that by nature the Americans as a fan base are just a little mellower. So I think that's just felt in general, but maybe yes, more so with the Lawrences as well.
Yeah. We haven't talked about anything else about the race except for the Lawrence brothers so far. I was impressed with Dean. Dean looked really good all weekend long. Was
how about
maybe the second best guy?
No, you have to still give it to Hunter, and then Matt
Hunter in the first race was
ring
terrible.
As well. I might die here.
You can move inside, please.
It's fine. I'm enjoying it. Imagine our ratings if I die. I feel like Brick in Anchorman. Stood out here going, the wind is very windy.
But yeah, Dean looked good. Like you said, Ryder Kingsford in 250s. I mean, we've been seeing all year that Lux Turner has been better than him, but Ryder's still a good rider. No pun intended. So that was kind of cool.
My takeaway, Ryder Kingsford, I have no idea what his deal is. He's with CDR. I have no idea what his path is projected to be. Let's get him to America. Even for a futures race, I just want to see it. He looks really good. And he was already on my radar because of Australian Supercross WSX in the past, whatever else. But seeing it, I really now have bought in. Alex Larwood, I was always familiar with the name. Perhaps never put too much stock into who he is and what he does. But he massively surprised me and impressed me, that has to be said. Dylan Wills, of course, everyone knows who Dylan Wills is, I think. But he, maybe I should check, but I feel like he massively stepped up for this event, without doubt. So those were the three Australian standouts. Dean was very impressive, yes. Phil had a terrible time of it. Lux Turner broke a wrist, both wrists. Wheel tap to net, which didn't really go very well. The CDR team look trick in general. And I was talking to someone, and apparently they're quite selective with their sponsors and who gets in, because they want their bikes to look fairly factory. They don't want it to be covered in logos. And it works because they do look trick. Mitchell Harrison, I would have expected more from. Partzilla connection there. Let's see, who else have we got here? Subs, I think. Should Cedric Subaras not be giving Dean Wilson more of a run for this championship? I feel like Subaras is on that level. I don't know, I'm a little bit... He's doing fine. I think he's still second in the championship, but I'm just underwhelmed that he seemingly has nothing for Dean Wilson in a series which is maybe plays to his... Maybe he's more familiar with a series like this than Dean is. You know?
Yeah, but having seen Dean, obviously Australian champion before and stuff like that, I feel like he rises to the occasion when he can win. In the years past, when he's been close to winning or near-ish close to winning, he's suddenly been really good. I remember, I think there was a race where he was on Red Bull KTM. He got second in San Diego, and it was just like, holy shit, that's Dean we've been waiting for. And I still hang on to that as as soon as he knows he can win, he rides better. And it's like when he's an 8th place guy, he just rides to that level for some reason. So I don't know. I mean, I look at Dean as a different league than Subs in terms of talent, and he's just
but
possessing it now. I don't know. So
Dean is of course a different league, but I feel like that changes when you get to a domestic series. You know, oh my, this is. Dude, please tell me you heard that.
I heard that. That lightning sound. That was right on top of you, dude. Move.
Yeah, cool. No, just when you get to this series, I feel like it's so different to everything. I know this isn't Sub's homeland, but you get to the British Championship and the gaps between riders shrink a little bit. I feel like you get to Australia, you get to France, you get to a national championship, and the playing field is leveled somewhat. Just, I don't know why. I don't know what you would, maybe it's self-belief, whatever it is. But yeah. Yeah, I'm a bit scared.
Dude, every time I look back at the screen, it's seriously flash, 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 flash. I'm getting an epilepsy over here, whatever it's
I was
called.
going to say, we might have to put an epilepsy warning on the front of this.
Dude,
if it gets much worse, I will turn.
That was 4 in a row. That's 5 in a row. I just saw flashes, bro.
I feel like people need to respect the commitment.
Are you getting rained on right now?
No, the wind must be it's possible that I'm going to die. Apologies to audio listeners. Send help. I'm like the Roadrunner. I'm just going to put a sign on screen that says, whatever the Roadrunner says, I'm going to die or whatever.
Your face just then when that went. When it goes off, you're just staring blankly into the camera's thunder goes off.
It's great vacation, really good.
It's excellent.
So, yeah, great event. I have to say, the magnitude of the stadium, this is important as well. Without doubt, it's bigger. I think it's bigger than Glendale, which must be the biggest stadium that we have. But I don't know why it's bigger. Because think about it. No, the lap times, not bigger in terms of like height or seating, but floor plan for sure. Because the lap times were a minute,
pitch, isn't it?
I don't know, Kellen. But the lap times were a minute, and they didn't use X amount of the floor. So,
yeah,
like, maybe SMX there in the future. We know that SMX wants to go international. We know the Australian market would work. The floor's big enough. The stadium is impressive. Yeah.
I'm just trying to do some quick Google searching. It looks like they have 19,000 meters squared of playing surface. That doesn't sound correct.
I really would have expected the rain to stop by now.
Yeah, it's quite a bit much. No, but you're right.
Wait, is it affecting the audio? Should I go inside?
No, you sound fine to me.
Okay.
It's a cricket field. I'm sure they play footy, football, whatever they call it there.
Yeah, no, from what I was told, they do everything there. Like, it can be soccer, it can be cricket, it can be Australian football, it can be worked to fit whatever configuration you need.
You know what I will say though is Jesus. I will say whatever form they chose to make it as condensed the track somehow though. Like watching it seemed tight. Even though it was pretty spread out, like the rhythm lane where they were going 3-4 seemed like the jumps were really close together. I don't know. Like to me, it seemed like they definitely could use more floor space and actually utilize that.
I wouldn't be able to go in depth on what this affected and how, but I'm sure I'm now getting wet, so I'm going to lean forward. I'm sure you've seen in the past, as I have, that there's restrictions with this stadium where the car park is underneath. So you can't have X amount of heavy equipment on the floor at the same time or in certain spots, and all of that. So I'd imagine that impacts the design, and then they have to go in super late. I think they started to build Wednesday night, Thursday morning. They effectively have 24 hours, 36 hours to get the build done. So I would imagine that impacts the fact of using the full layout because they don't have time to be so creative with it and whatever else. But a very impressive stadium. My new thing. So in England and in Australia, the stadiums are much more... There's restaurants built into them. There's stores built into them. It's more like an entertainment complex. And that isn't true in America. I don't believe. Wait for people to come at me. And I wonder why. I wonder why there's a different ethos behind stadium building in the rest of the world versus America. I imagine it's because American sports are very in and out. Maybe. I don't know. No one knows.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's not common. It's becoming more common. Like, there's more stadiums that have, like, spaces to do stuff. Like, you even talk about, it's not Quest Field, Lumen Field in Seattle has a convention space going next to it. Like, there's more multi-purpose spaces being used like that nowadays. But, no, that is cool. Like, it definitely makes for a better fan experience, I think, to have places like that. Before
we move on to the non-moto, let me just sum it up like this. It meant a lot to be at the event. The stadium took my breath away. The marina behind the stadium is amazing. It's honestly a beautiful setting for a stadium. The crowd are into it, and yeah, it was. I would argue that everyone should now attempt to go to the AUSX Open if they can. Obviously, it's a long way and it's not possible for most, but I think it's certainly now like off season. I'm going to be like, I want to go to Paris and I want to go to the AUSX Open. Yeah. Whereas I think before this year, before I experienced it, it was always, I want to go to Paris.
Yeah. I was just laughing in your last little bit that you're talking there because you got closer to the camera. You're yelling into the microphone.
Oh, am I talking too loud?
Well, that's why I was saying it's funny because you literally are a weatherman now. You're like those weathermen that it's so loud with what's going on around them that you've lost all sense of volume. So you just start talking louder because you think.
Sorry, you should have told me.
It's funny. It's funny to me because you're giving a weather report as it's happening, and we can talk about Australia now.
I would go inside, but like I don't want to like disrupt them all. You know, like I don't want to be like,
honestly,
hey.
Not to throw him under the bus, but like, am I a dick, Max Anstey? Why don't you come outside and welcome you back inside?
They did tell me what. They did say, "Why are you going outside?" I was like, it's easier.
But come outside.
You know me, I'm
now.
awkward. I'm awkward.
Mate, you've been sitting on the porch for 45 minutes, and it's like torrential.
Hold on.
If I was your friend, I would come outside and pull you back inside.
I'm just sliding the table further in.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, let's talk about Australian life. Before we do, I want to tell you guys about Partzilla. Partzilla.com is the premier OEM parts dealer and distributor. They sell OEM parts for Honda, Kawasaki, Polaris, Can-Am, Suzuki, Arctic Cat, Sea-Doo, Ski-Doo, and Yamaha motorcycles, ATVs, PWCs, and snowmobiles. Visit Partzilla.com to see their extensive line of parts and accessories. All right, so let's non-moto this a little bit. Australian life. It's your first time in Australia, even though you lived in New Zealand. I can literally hear it raining now. That's how heavy it's coming down there. You're in this fantastic place. You've been here for 4 days now in Australia. How are we liking it?
Is the audio bad? Like, if the audio is compromised, tell me.
The audio sounds fine right now, but I can hear the rain, I think.
Okay. So, as I said last week, Australia and Canada were the last remaining countries on my bucket list. And you could argue that I've been to New Zealand, so how, Australia would probably just feel very similar to that. You could argue that I felt enough of an Australian sort of vibe in New Zealand. I will say, I've probably had one of the best weeks of my life, and I'm extremely happy because I love it here. It's so good. I don't know why. Honestly, I've described it to a few people as this. It's a vacation, as far as location, but then at the same time, it's a touch of home. Because there are so many British influences. There's more British candy here. British words. Chips are French fries. And the restrooms are toilets again. And the trash is a bin again. And the parking lot is a car park again. You know, all of this stuff. So it scratched the itch of like homesickness, whilst also having a bit of a vacation vibe to it as well. So that's probably influenced the fact that I'm so happy here. Everyone told me that I wouldn't like Melbourne. I loved it. I did 31,000 steps one day and just went exploring. The whole river area there is really, really nice. A few people said don't get stabbed, but I felt like downtown Melbourne, I never felt in trouble or anything. And so you know how when someone dies, they do there's like a meme of like God opening the door and like welcome home, brother. That sort of thing. Yeah?
Yeah.
Familiar? Okay. So I land in Australia, dump my stuff in my hotel and go for a walk because I kind of need to just keep myself awake. Go out of my hotel, turn one corner, there's a Monster Energy pickup truck in the street, and I walk by and I'm like, that's weird. And the woman in the back goes, hey, do you want a free can of Monster? And I'm like, do you have white? And she goes, yeah, sure. And I'm like, I'm home. What, like, that is God opening the door to heaven for me and being like, welcome home, child. I feel like it was a very symbolic moment in life. So, yeah, that was nice. Everyone told me that if I liked Melbourne, just wait, because this place, despite the current weather, and the Gold Coast, which is where WSX is, I would like a lot more. Max is now looking out the window at me like I'm mental. I was going to get him to come on here, but I won't make him come and sit in the rain.
Well, you should go inside and get out of the rain and talk to him instead.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. I didn't think it could work the other way, yeah. Everyone told me that, like, if you think Melbourne's good, just wait. And from what I've seen of this place so far, it is amazing, and I'd imagine the Gold Coast will be as well. But it is just cool. Like, I'm so glad I've come here. I really am so glad. Like, there was a very big part of me that wasn't going to come, just because it's a long way, it's off-season. Like, what am I doing? But I'm so, so, so glad that I did actually come here. So glad. Despite the fact that it may be the death of me with the lightning strikes, which, I must say, are providing some very ambient lighting to the podcast.
Yeah, you keep going from dark to light, and definitely a seizure warning needs to be placed on this podcast.
Well, previously, at the start of the podcast, you could actually make out the background, couldn't you? Like, you could see
a little
spots.
bit, yeah.
Now it's just a snow globe. Oh, and now Max's kid is staring at me through the window, so I'm really getting attention.
Like you said, it feels like a touch of home. Does it feel almost exactly like home, or is it more like a US combo with GB mix kind of thing?
It's a combo. It is really a combo. But I would say Canada. I think I said the same about Canada. Canada felt the same, like dairy milk, McVitie's digestives, Maltesers, Nando's, which was in Canada as well, by the way. It's a Nando's review. So I've now done Nando's in UK, Canada, Australia. Where did I have a Nando's last year?
We had it in the US at after Bud's.
Oh, Washington. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've now done Nando's in Canada, Australia, UK, America. At the bottom of the ranking. This is a little teaser for next week when I rank the events by everything. But we'll start with Nando's now as a little tease. Bottom of the ranking comes Canada. Ooh.
Oh.
No, not sure what they're doing with their Nando's. They've completely missed the whole point of Nando's, the vibe. I went in, was already turned off by the ambience, the vibe, the way they approached me. And I went, oh, do you not sell this here? And they went, no. And I went, okay, I'll have garlic bread as a side. And they went, that's not a side, you have to do extra. You have to pay for it as an extra. And I said, excuse me, other Nando's, it's a side. And they went, we're aware, but that's not true here. So I walked out.
Very unlike Canadians to be dicks about that too. Like I
walked
what
out
are we doing?
because they weren't giving me the experience that I hoped for. Third place, and this is tough. America. Now, I don't actually have a complaint about the American side, other than that the French fries are very, very different to what Nando's chips are meant to be.
Really,
so the French fries really let it down.
I thought US would be your last because I feel like I can remember you telling me when we went there because I asked you what we should order and everything like this, and you said, "Oh, get this," and then you were quite let down by the whole experience. Like you're like, it doesn't taste the same. It's not as good. So,
Kellen, I walked out before ordering in Canada. How can
I understand
be
that,
lower
but
than that?
You just saying I don't have anything bad to say about it except for the fries totally doesn't sound like what you sounded like when we had it. So,
well, no, it wasn't the same. Like, I cannot have anything bad to say whilst also saying this isn't great. You know?
All right.
Second place, Australia. It's good. My issue is they don't do butterfly chicken and they don't do chicken thighs. Two staples of Nando's. Now, admittedly, they have chicken tenders, which aren't tenders by definition. They are very much chicken thighs. So I was happy with what I had. They also threw in a curveball by having cheesy garlic bread, which no Nando's, to my knowledge, unless they brought it into the UK now, does. So I was very blessed by that inclusion. And then, of course, the OG. Well, it's not actually the OG. I think South Africa's the OG. The OG, the UK takes the top spot. Although I did just remember I had Nando's in Qatar for the GP as well. So actually, what an achievement. Nando's in 5 different countries. Hold on. How
was the one in Qatar?
That was 10 years ago. I just remember it also being a very different vibe.
Oh, I thought you were talking about when you went to WSX 2 years ago.
No, that was Abu Dhabi.
Forgot about the GP, yeah.
That was Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
So Qatar would probably come in above Canada, below America. Oh, Nando's is in over 20 countries. Who knew?
Well, if that's the case, you're a quarter of the way there from completing the Infinity Stones. You got to keep going.
The first Nando's opened in South Africa in 1987.
To me, this sounds like a perfect opportunity for you to get yourself to Cape Town and also try Nando's in South Africa at the home. The OG, yeah.
I'm home. I might go to South Africa and not go to the race, and just be like, I'm here in Nando's. Is that what people want to see? Also, Race Tech Rant. Based on our previous discussion about how they're marketing Kenny as a whole series, I saw a fan, I forget his name, sorry, sent me a teaser for the South African GP that was posted, and it is exclusively Kenny footage. Come on out and get your tickets for South Africa, and it's a minute, what do they call it, hype reel, buzz reel, of just Kenny. And it's like, so, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Australia, honestly, I feel like I've kind of forgotten everything I had to say. But I'm genuinely really happy. And I'm sad that I go home, quote unquote, in 6 days because I'm really trying to make the most of it.
Okay, let's ask this then real quick. I know you've only been there 5 days, but I'm curious to this. Like, motocross doesn't exist anymore. You have to start your career over. Are you going to choose to live in the UK, US, or Australia?
Wait, so motocross doesn't exist, so I'm not being a motocross journalist?
Yeah, you could be a F1 journalist or something else, but like you have to change your career path. Which country are you going to do it in?
Still America. Still America, but I would very happily take Australia. If you told me right now the motocross doesn't exist and, Lewis, you're moving to Australia, I wouldn't really have much contention. I'd go, okay, cool. You know?
All right. Cool.
Like, I think I even said last week that part of the reason I was coming is it's a bucket list and, like, doing it once and then I'll be happy. I'm coming back. I'm not doing this once. Like, I'm locked in.
Love it. Any more thoughts on Australia?
I probably have more. So, Steve.
Oh, Steve. Okay.
He's out of his comfort zone.
Life too, or are we going to get into
He's out of his comfort zone. I don't know what's going on. He's not the same person. I'm scared that we won't ever get the same person back. He is just all over the place. It's concerning. He doesn't. What would you? Have you ever heard anyone refer to ketchup as tomato sauce?
Okay, but you're not gonna like my answer on this, but I've never heard anyone say that tomato sauce that you put on spaghetti is anywhere close to ketchup. So I don't know how you got there.
No one said that either. No, it's no different to what words have other. There's loads of words that have double meaning or triple meaning even. English. The trunk is called the boot, as are the shoes on your feet, as is getting the boot from your job. So you could say, I got the boot from my job, so I put my boots in my boot. You know?
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing about the UK. I've heard is like, I want to take a lift to lift me up to a lift. Like, you can say the word lift like 14 different ways. So
in the same sense, tomato sauce is just ketchup, but also the tomato sauce on pasta isn't necessarily tomato sauce.
I've never heard it called tomato sauce, but I wouldn't be like, WTF is that if someone said that with fries? Like, would you like that with tomato sauce?
Big up the English and the Australians, because Adam Cinzarello's tried a meat pie at a live show on Friday night, and the fans were screaming like, you need sauce, and Steve or something said, what sauce? And they all said, tomato sauce. And then Steve went, tomato sauce? And then someone gave it and he went, that's ketchup. And I was like, mate, come on. How are we really that dumb now? Come on. So, again, it's more of a similarity between the English and the Australian. The live show was good. Impressive turnout. Impressive meet and greet after. Overwhelming. Met some really cool people. A few fans are actually like, oh, let's go for a beer. And I actually wish I could have, because it was actually really, like, cool people. So that was all a very cool experience. How about going back a little bit, Dean Wilson revealing that he got an offer from Triumph.
That was my next topic that I wanted to get into, actually.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Well, let me tell you guys about Racetech first. For 40 years, Racetech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with high-quality suspension components made right here in the USA. For modern and vintage, Racetech is your go-to source for suspension performance. Be sure to get your suspension service at one of their several centers across the US and even Europe by visiting racetech.com and looking at where they have their local service center. Thanks to Racetech for backing the show. Yeah, so I wanted to get into this. It is the Dean topic, but it's really a Triumph at large topic, because Triumph 2026 plans got thrown a bit of a wrench this past week anyway, as Jordan Smith went under the knife. He had a torn labrum and rotator cuff from his crash at Vegas SMX, and so they didn't realize it was going to be that bad. He did go under the knife, he said, like 5 weeks ago or something like that, so it's been a while since this happened, but he says he will not be ready for the start of 450 Supercross in 2026. And so then you also put out, as your interview also alluded to with Dean on Friday, that he did get offered a deal to go full-time 450 SX with Triumph, in which he declined, I guess, right? Like, it's not still on the table. So what do they do? Because Jordan's not going to be ready, I would guess, for, like, the way that he makes it sound, it's not going to be like, oh, we're back at A2. Like, it's going to be a decent little bit. Do they care on missing out this much time, or are they going to pivot and go to somebody else because Dean said no?
Well, don't forget, they haven't actually formally announced that Jordan is racing the 450 yet. So that actually isn't like, it's set in stone. I can't remember who their new suspension guy is, but he posted like a real a slideshow on Instagram of like, oh, I'm working for Triumph now, and in there was Jordan's 450 with his numbers on and whatever else. So like, but the fact that they haven't gone all in means that technically, in the public eye, they're not fully committed yet. So like, they don't. By that token, do they necessarily need to follow through and have a 450 on the track? Maybe not. In that same breath, if it's possible, now I've heard of a Jordan could be out for 5 to 6, or he could be out for 12 to 13. Truth be told, at this point, if he misses all of Supercross, would I be surprised? No, not at all. In fact, maybe it would be the sensible play to have Jordan and Mickle both just running testing for 450 outdoors all winter. Now that Jordan's missing time, it will obviously put Jordan in Supercross if he's healthy. So follow-up, Dean did reveal in my interview that he got an offer. That's why I tweeted it. It wasn't because I was told in confidence. It was in the interview, so why not? He turned it down, and then it sounds like Phil got a call as well. So it's curious that Triumph, a factory team, are calling retired guys? Like, is there not someone current who's available? I guess not. But it is still a little bit like, really? Question mark?
Maybe not this late.
No.
Is part of the problem. Is Guillaume's deal done?
Yes, he's Rock River. He told me to wait for the PR, but like Rock River don't do PRs, Valentin. And also, with all due respect, no one cares about Rock River. Like, we don't need to wait for the PR. Guillaume's on Rock River. I think he's doing that MX6. Also, no. Someone replied to the Dean tweet saying "cool tie Masterpool," and I was trying to think of a sarcastic comment, but I couldn't come up with one. Like, I wanted to sarcastically reply, "For what is he gonna fill in the blank?" But I couldn't fill in the blank. I think it's better just don't run it. Like, by all accounts, Triumph's 450 program isn't watertight yet with a bike. There's still some gremlins there. Like, just wait for outdoors and run Mickle and Jordan there.
I don't like that plan though, because they need to get experience of Supercross on the 450 at some point. So pull the Band-Aid off sooner rather than later and get Jordan on the track when he's ready. Yeah. But don't sign someone for a full year. I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's also the play with Dean or someone. Like, okay, maybe the result, who knows what the results will be, but he's got experience so he can provide valuable feedback.
I guess. Is Chiz's deal locked down yet to stay at HEP?
No, his deal isn't locked down.
Well, I'm saying like he was supposed to maybe have like a testing / sometimes race kind of role there. So
no, but anyway, Chiz has got a couple of irons in the fire, but the only need for Chiz in Triumph is if he races, because they've got more than enough test riders. If anything, Triumph have too many test riders. They've got Ivan, they've got Kiefer, they've got Ricky, they've got others. Like, the list is extensive compared to other manufacturers. I guess Clement de Sal, Ivan Cervantes, like the list is long, but then I guess it's necessary with an all-new manufacturer.
So, based on the fact that they are going after clearly Dean and Phil maybe and all these other guys, like, do you think that there is a Triumph on the gate at A1? Like, somebody? I don't know, they're going to pull someone out? Yeah, like what is the other name? I don't know, but like clearly they care enough to try. They're trying. So if they're doing this much, reason suggests that they would probably hire somebody.
There isn't that rider this year, is there? Who's kind of like, like Dean when he fell off of a factory roundabout or merry-go-round and just like was in limbo and ready to jump. There's no like Barsha. Monster Cup on the Honda and then entering factory Yamaha, he was just in limbo and ready to bounce. There isn't really that sort of guy, is there, this year? You could say Masterpool, I don't agree with that, but aside from that, there isn't really anyone that I can think of. You could say maybe someone like Nick Romano, but that's obviously not a good idea, but that's the highest level of guy I can think of who's just in no man's land a little bit.
Yeah, like seriously, I'm just going through 450 Supercross points last year, and everybody that was in that limbo stage landed somewhere. Like, you could obviously say Dylan and Barsha were limbo, but they landed at Ducati. Shane sounds like he's done with Uribe, right?
Shane's locked in. Christian doesn't have a contract, but he very much is of the opinion that he's locked in. I believe he actually may have spoke to Triumph before doing the quad lock deal as well. Anyway, and okay, how about this? I think the answer to this is no, but just putting it out there. Do you say to Harrop, let's see you on the Supercross track and see if you can do this? No, you don't. Yeah,
no, because to me it seems pretty obvious that Harrop's career will continue and then end in MXGP. I don't think that there's going to be any point that he's racing Supercross here.
Harrop,
so there's no point in throwing him on the track on a 450 no less for like 5 races.
Harrop has a contract for 2027 MXGP.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, not only is it continuing, I do not think that once he goes back there, we're going to see him back here ever again. Like, he's already going up in age a little bit from this point on.
Yeah, agree.
So, like, there's no 5 races would be stupid to on a 450 again, no less. Like, if you're doing a fill-in deal to Jalik got hurt and you're putting him 250 East or something, yeah, maybe. But otherwise, no, don't do that.
Yeah, so then I don't really have many names. You can't put Koldenhoff in Supercross. A Subaras? Maybe
Tommy?
I was going to say that, but I thought it was so ridiculous that I wouldn't even say it. I would love to see that, though. That would be amazing. How about, in all seriousness, why not a Subaras?
Yeah,
he
maybe.
Can make mains?
How good of a tester is he? Because that's what they really need.
Again, but do they? They've got 1,000,001 testers.
But they need someone to test the bike at race pace. You could have Tedesco ride the bike 150 times. It doesn't make a difference until it's raced.
Yeah, maybe Subaras?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's the closest example so far of someone that doesn't seem to have it ironed out yet.
Bourdon?
Maybe.
I mean, we're really, at this point, we're just throwing around. If I'm a team manager, I would rather... This is going to sound harsh, but if I'm a factory team manager who has a reputation to uphold, I'm probably choosing to not put a bike on the track versus signing Bourdon for 450s. But if they're that desperate, it's an option. So
Dean said no. Would they up the price to try to get someone like him?
That would be the $1 million question, quite literally. Yeah, I don't know. That would be the $1 million question.
It's so weird, man. Like, this feels like nothing is planned out correctly for this, but yet they need to do it. Like, at the same time, I would say it's stupid just sitting on their hands and waiting another year, but also it seems like they have literally no idea what to do.
I just want to point out, this was my view from this behind me 20 minutes before we started the podcast.
It's fantastic.
I just want to point out that, like, this is so weird that it's just turned like this.
It is.
No, I don't know.
I honestly, you know what? Fuck it. Tommy until Jordan comes back.
All right, I'll tweet it out. You know what?
I mean, come on. Still races. He races UK Arena Cross, right? Still?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
because there's start money.
He raced Supercross. It's been a while, but he did.
You know what? In the interest of journalism, I will message Tommy after this podcast and say, I'm looking for an official comment. Would you write... Lewis Phillips, journalist. I'll do it real, like, officially, you know?
Yeah.
Would you care to comment on the... I'll present it as, would you care to comment on the rumour that you're going to race 450 Supercross? You know what? Max is... I should get Max to... Max would probably have a good response to that, but he's stretching or dying? He's just laying on the floor. He's maybe dead. I would say he's stretching, but he's not moving. I don't know, man. Athletes.
Okay. I still have one more topic. Do you want to dive into it? Or did you have anything else you want to go over? Or?
I honestly, I had a lot more to say about Australia, but I've kind of forgotten.
I mean, we're an hour in, so...
I will try and make some more notes for next week. Next week, we are going to do my Argentina, Vancouver, Melbourne, Gold Coast review from airport, airline, food, location, amenity, everything. We're gonna we won't do a full show. Maybe we'll try 20 minutes. I'll try and keep it to.
I don't mind going longer.
I think it could be quite entertaining. If you don't think it would be, let us know, and we won't do it. I do want to say though, overwhelming and unbelievable the amount of LVK listeners, fans, supporters, etc., etc., etc. that I met. Like a true out-of-body experience and motivational and, you know, like, unbelievable. I signed a white Monster can. Update, stay tuned for this. I emailed it to Monster and said, okay.
You're welcome.
Let's Let's work out a deal here. I'm signing monsters for fuck's sake. If that isn't time to become an ambassador, I don't know what is.
I'm gonna be so pissed off when I go to Tampa Supercross in 2026 and your empty ass fridge has nothing but Monster in it.
Ah, glorious. I can even review the design of the Monster cans, because they're a little bit different everywhere.
Yeah, is it
For
actually...
instance, in America, that is white. Here, it's silver.
Does the taste, like, you've had it in Australia, you've had it in the US, I know you've had it around Europe. Does the taste stay consistent? Like, the quality control of their Monster products across the board is excellent? All right.
Yes, but I will say that America has so much more shit in it. I would argue that maybe it's just my mind. I think the monsters in America are a little bit more zingy. There's a little bit more like, hey. But still, for the most part, fine. It's just sad, like someone tweeted me this. Does Nando's have the same quality control as McDonald's across their nations? And I have to say that condiment-wise, sauce-wise, yes. But for the menu-wise, no. You can go anywhere and get a Big Mac that tastes the same. Nando's it's the same taste. The pure product is the same taste. The peri-peri sauce, the spice. This threw me off. England, the spice from top down is extra hot, medium, mild. Here is extra hot, mild. We just go from hot to mild. That threw me off. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I was like, well, hang on. Where's the middle ground?
I'll hit back on your McDonald's Big Mac comment, because the best Big Mac I've ever had was in the middle of nowhere in France.
Yeah, but it's all roughly the same, Like although each market has local flavors, for the most part, you see a McDonald's, you're going in to get a.
Yeah, and I guess you're right. Like flavor wise, it wasn't crazy different, but it's so much fresher.
It's not like oh yeah, of course, but it's not like here the Big Mac has bacon, or here they don't put lettuce in it, or here here it's 3 patties and not 2.
Although McDonald's in Europe has some crazy shit on their menu that definitely doesn't exist in the US. I forget now, but it's all kinds of like stuff.
The Europeans would say the same about America. There's stuff here that it's just they all have extras, but the core menu remains the same.
Fair. Let me tell you guys about Namura. Namura Technologies has been a trusted name in performance engine components for motocross, ATV, UTV, and personal watercraft for over 20 years. From complete rebuilds to high-performance upgrades, Namura delivers precision-engineered parts built to perform under pressure. Their expanding lineup includes cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, engine valves, and cylinder kits, all designed to meet or exceed OEM specifications. Find full product details and application coverage at Namura.com. And my last topic...
No, I just thought we have to clarify. It's been so much has happened, so many flights. My flight last week, I did have the full row to myself, and I had semi-acceptable Wi-Fi. It wasn't great. I couldn't scroll TikTok. I couldn't scroll Instagram, but I could at least, for the most part, send and receive messages. It was spotty, but it was what I would say was acceptable. And also, I slept for like 10 hours, so really, I wasn't even in need of it.
It also ruffled the feathers of Moto Twitter to no end because you had your shoes off.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, I had to row to myself. I had to row to myself. B, it was a midnight flight, so I'm going to sleep. And so is everyone else.
Yeah, if you've never been on a red-eye flight before, it's everybody in there is trying to get comfortable. I don't know that I would have had my shoes off that quickly, but I definitely would have taken my shoes off at some point during a 16-hour flight. That's fucking ridiculous to think you're leaving your shoes on for that long.
I had to row to myself, so my feet were on a seat. Would it not be weirder if I had my shoes on the chair?
Yeah,
would it not be weirder if I had my chairs on the shoe?
It would be weirder if you had your chairs on the shoe. That would be crazy weird. Yeah, I mean, congratulations, you got a whole row to yourself. That was a hot topic of last week. So
yeah, no, my flight home's already full, so it's going to seem like hell in comparison.
Yeah, the last 2 times I've done international flights, I had my kid with me, so I had no room anyway. I was just bundled in. So good luck.
Yeah, well, I'm going
actually, this brings up a good point. Are you going to be back home next week when we're doing LVK?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I leave Sunday morning after the race.
Got it. All right, makes sense. Okay, so my last topic, I really had 2. I don't know that I really am.
It's clear behind me. You can actually see behind me again.
You can, yeah. You can see like a peninsula or something out there.
We've gone full circle with the weather here.
But the Ducati team got announced like quite literally right after we posted LVK last week, so we didn't really even get a chance to talk about it. Not that we haven't already. We've already gone into Barcia and Ferrandis and everything like that. But some interesting news maybe came out after this, in that Barcia is not currently riding because he has a broken collarbone, allegedly. So, yeah, how much does that impact everything for Ducati? Ferrandis is testing and getting everything ready to go, but they're down one man already trying to test and get this bike ready for 450 Supercross.
Collarbone's a collarbone. It's not that long, and I would argue that they're starting from such a... Well, just not a negative point. They're starting from such a place where 2 or 3 weeks isn't going to be game-changing. You know?
Do you think it's... I agree with you, but do you think it's also weird that both of them are not testing together right now? It sounds like there's also past beef that just continues to keep going on that people are talking about. I don't really feel like it was that deep.
Between Ferrandis and Barcia?
Yeah, I didn't think it was that deep, but people are saying like, they won't even take photos together. So
No, I know. I think that's just the way the PR was done.
yeah.
I would argue, Barcia's injured, so maybe this impacted it. Can we say a bit of an underwhelming PR? An announcement from Ducati?
No, it was definitely underwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to TLD team launches where they helicoptered people in. And I'm like, so Ducati, you'd also say big deal. First time the team's announced, we get 2 photos and some half-assed kind of videos thrown together with no riding and stuff too. Like, I don't know, but whatever.
Equally, in announcement news, congrats to SKDA for getting Honda HRC Progressive. That's fairly big news. HRC were with Throttle Jockey, I believe, for decades. May seem insignificant to some, but I think an industry move like that is quite poignant. And the Lawrences had special graphics in AUSX Open to mark the start of the partnership, but mainly to honour their back-to-back Motocross of Nations victories. Of course, they wore their Nations Alpine Stars gear as well.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, to the point of SKDA, it's one of those things that those deals are quite a big deal within the teams and within the industry that never get talked about anywhere else. No one seems to ever bring it up except for a small PR that drops, but then no one you just move on from that. So yes, very cool. Also, kind of weird that SKDA, they run the kits this weekend that basically were the same exact kits that they ran at Motocross of Nations, which would have been Throttle Jockey graphics.
They weren't the same.
It was pretty close.
Well, obviously, Honda HRC Progressive does have a traditional corporate look. I think SKDA's influence will come into play with the liveries for the themed races, Military Appreciation, the St. Jude race, whatever else we end up doing. But no, there was quite a lot of hidden details in it that maybe you needed to be up close to see. Like behind the Honda logo, the Oz was written in there to a degree in places. There were a lot more subtle details to it. It was very much a tribute set of graphics. I would argue that I saw no real comparison to the Nations apart from maybe the major points.
Quickly back to Ducati though, just on aesthetics, because we're talking about aesthetics with Honda. I thought it was rather weird, the spy photos that we've seen, that those bikes are not as red can get. They're a lot kind of like an off red color, and then the seat was blue, I think, on Ferrandis' bike that I saw. And I'm kind of just Ducati, similar to Ferrari, loves this aesthetic that they are the Italian red team, and I'm surprised it's not that way. It kind of wasn't that way in GPs either, and I don't know why.
Trying to find a spot in a very red market, perhaps?
I guess, but then do they care because they're so high-class niche anyway that they would rather just look the part of their brand instead of try to be different?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, and I said this before, Bosch is coming off of a red bike, Ferrandis is coming off of a red bike, and the Troy Lee Designs Red Bull team were on red bikes a decade ago. So nothing about the look feels especially new to me. Fair? It all...
No, it doesn't.
It almost feels like I've seen it all before.
That's why I think it's weird. I was expecting... I don't know how to say red without making it sound like a Honda for sure. I get it, but
Ruby.
I don't know. Huh?
Ruby.
Okay, take a all red bike and put like a racing stripe from fender to rear fender down the middle of the seat. And then you have something that looks wildly different. I don't know. So
it has to be said, we haven't actually seen the race bikes yet. So maybe that was a winter livery. And equally, I did hear that Troy Lee is going to be hand painting a part of the bike. So I think that there will be a better, different, more standout look come Anaheim 1.
Weird that
Without
it's Red
doubt.
Bull? Or no?
Yes and no. Yes, because of Ducati's history with Monster. No, because of Troy Lee. And obviously, we know this isn't Ducati's. This isn't a full factory in-house Ducati team. So why? Like, if it was, then I'm sure Monster would be on it. But it's a Troy team, so then Red Bull's there. And also, Monster aren't title with the GP program. They're there, but they're not like balls deep with the motocross program.
Okay, and then last question I'll have about it is we see that somehow, some way they tied in DC to get back into the GP paddock. Is having Ducati in the sport in any way going to bring in some different outside sponsors than we're used to seeing just because of the hold that they have on the street bike market?
Well, not in year one, I would imagine. But as everyone used to say about JGR, I guess you would say if Troy Lee and Ducati can't tempt some outside industry sponsors, then who can?
That's honestly one of the biggest things that I'm going to keep an eye on with this, because it is a powerhouse in a way, in the motorcycle industry at least. Yes, some of these other brands have been established for a long time and do race MotoGP and stuff like that, but it doesn't get higher than Ducati, especially in MotoGP right now. And so if they can't tempt in some of their MotoGP sponsors like Lenovo and other things like that, I don't know
Shell.
how else we're going to how else we're going to get to
so
that
like
level. So
this may be a question because originally Shell was on the motocross bike, Lenovo was on the motocross bike, but that's because they're. I'm sure you heard that.
mm-hmm.
Okay, that was because their contracts with Ducati were for marketing purposes. So because the motocross bike initially was a marketing machine, they had to be on there. So that's why the partnerships haven't stretched across to the race team. But you know, we're semi-aware of the numbers and what exists behind SMX, and it's impressive. So, again, year one, maybe not, but after a year, it should be possible. But then again, I don't think the results are going to be there, so maybe that stops it. Maybe it doesn't happen, if it's going to at all, until we see wins from Ducati.
Well, all right, fair enough. All right, that's my last topic. So I got nothing else to say. I want you to get inside and get out of this thunderstorm so you don't die.
Yep. Thank you to everyone who stopped me at the AUSX Open, who listened to this podcast and supports it. Much appreciated. Thank you to everyone for putting up with the lightning if you're watching, and the thunder if you're listening. And also my loud voice if I was talking loud at points. Thank you to God for not killing me while I'm doing this podcast. Thank you to Adam Bailey for having me out to the AUSX Open. The hospitality was also second to none. It must be said, and stay tuned for more from the race. And also, I would like to thank, if I can quickly find his last name, Ben Dillaway, who really hosted Steve and I very well, catered to us, helped us with anything we need, really went above and beyond from AME. So, that was very much appreciated all round.
Feld AME.
Like, I said to Steve, I really want to go and get a Coke. And he just appeared and went, do you want me to go get you a Coke? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Feld. We would like Cokes too, you know? Just saying.
And also, when we were doing the live show on Friday, which we didn't really talk much about, they covered all the drinks we wanted from the bar. Steady flow. Kept coming over. Do you want more? Do you want more? Yeah, no, it's really good. I really think there's something in. I said this to Steve. Scaling pulp. We got to figure out some sort of like VIP experience, more to get more interactive with everyone, and just I think we can do something, a sort of a spin-off to the live show, which maybe isn't so taxing.
I think. I mean, I know it was a fly racing thing, but I think those the pit shows that Steve did for like 2 years. I thought that was good. I thought that was a good way to interact with fans and stuff. So
maybe a little bit before their time.
Maybe it's time to bring him back.
Or maybe we can bring it back in a different form. Watch this space.
All right, well, that is our Leatt LVK More Than Moto podcast. Crazy week for Lou down under. We're going to get a lot of interesting takes after this week, I feel like, about life in Australia, and hopefully no lightning strikes.
Well, you know what they say. Lightning doesn't strike twice, or something like that. What is it? What's the saying?
I don't know, man. I don't know where you're going for.
It is lightning doesn't strike twice. So why would there be more lightning?
I don't know how that's the saying, though, because it does.
This podcast was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, that's the title of the show right there. So there we have it. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate you guys watching and or listening, and hopefully enjoy your week. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody here in the USA, and have a great rest of your week. Find people at home. See ya.